Gentlemen, welcome to the very first ever Captain's Dinner. It's for me, really. It's about me getting to pick the brains of great captains of the Ryder Cup. What made you great leaders? So it's for my benefit, but I'm going to treat you because I'm going to treat you all because we're going to have a meal, we're going to have a starter, main and dessert, and it will all reference the places where you were successful as Ryder Cup captains.
It was probably the most inspiring half an hour I've had with somebody else in sport.
I think he brought it to a completely different level than anything was there before. Miguel Angel Jimenez, there was Garcia in the room, there was Alazzo in the room crying their eyes out, you know.
It was quite good fun to be in that room, watching him stomp around the table.
It is such a privilege for me to have you guys here. Monty, obviously what you did as a Ryder Cup player and a captain, 8 Ryder Cups for yourself, never beaten in the singles. Iconic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, obviously, you know, you very nearly got airborne in 2002 when you hold that.
I was a good 6 inches off the ground at that stage.
Yeah.
Nearly double my height.
And sat across from a man who got a tattoo on his bottom after he won the Ryder Cup. Guys, to have you able to discuss and give us some insights really to what made you tick as leaders. I suppose they would say as well that business very often mirrors golf in some ways in terms of the principles behind success. So that's what I want to really tap into. So DP World's ones, they have 5 Ps and we're going to focus on them today. From preparation to perspective to possibilities to performance to partnerships. And we're going to start with preparation. It's the lead up to the Ryder Cup. I suppose first of all though, Thomas, what is the job of the captain?
I think the preparation period is one of those things that I probably enjoyed that part the most, you know, where I got with my own thoughts and try and sit down and look through all those things and think about the captains. You know, I had Seve as a captain, I had Torrance as a captain. In my early days, I had Paul as a captain, and kind of learn from all of them and then form your own ideas. I think that was an interesting and fun process.
I saw it very, very clearly that once play got underway, my job was not at all on the golf course of instructing players how to play shots. You both played under Seve. I think he had a different view than that. And I think you and him had a set to at one stage, Monty, when he got involved.
Yeah, God rest him. God rest him. I totally agree. It's the lack of control, isn't it? When you start out on that Friday morning and you've done all this preparation and you've done all this, and suddenly, as you so rightly say, your job has gone. When they leave that first tee, you think, oh my God, hang on, I've lost control of them. Now let's hope they bring back something. In 4 hours' time, let's hope they bring back half a point or a point, or else it's a complete waste of time, this. So it's amazing how that lack of control came along, and you're dead right about all the preparation, all the stuff's gone. Now it's up to them.
There's a moment there where everything is in place, you're ready to go, and now it's just a realization that I'm a hero or I'm a villain, and I have not really any control because it's down to 12 players to deliver that result.
I've got to ask, we're already getting to this point, I think. You do pander to these players, though, when you're captain, and you've got to make sure they're all happy. From what I've heard,
yeah,
you did more than most. Tell us about the beds.
They're terrible. I know I had a removal company set in to Celtic Manor. I mean, a Celtic Manor, lovely hotel, don't get me wrong, but the beds weren't big enough.
For who, Monty? They were big enough for me.
But I thought, no, 5-foot beds weren't big enough, so we needed 6-foot beds.
Oh, they must have loved you.
I mean, oh no, they didn't.
No, I can imagine.
But preparation, whether that meant the team thought that, well, Monty's prepared, or Thomas prepared, or whatever, as long as he's prepared, we'll go out and do our job.
That's important.
Yes,
important.
very
they pick
important.
Up on everything. As a player, you pick up on everything,
very
the vibe
important.
of the captain and what he's doing.
Yes.
And that gives you confidence when you see that attention to detail.
Sure. I didn't do what Woozy did. He stood in the shower for Ireland with the waterproofs on.
Probably did the
with
same.
His Procrit waterproofs on.
Yeah.
He stood in the shower to test them. Yeah. But it's important. It might just be that quarter shot, or it might go into half a shot. And that's all it takes, because they're all there, you know?
More so than that attention to detail, which is important because the players pick up on that. The big thing is the energy and the vibe behind the scenes. That's the most important thing you're doing as a captain. You know, you want a happy team room. You know, you've got 12 guys and you want to make sure they're all happy, and they're all different. Not everybody you're just going to do this and everybody's going to be happy with that. And so you want to make sure that everybody is in a good spot, and that also that you've got characters, whether it be among your vice captains or even some of the caddies, that are going to ignite that sense of good fun. You've got to get that balance between, it's not just all jovial and everybody having a drink and we're all best friends and we love each other and we're all bonded. It's not that. It's got to be a little bit of that and a little bit of banter and Mickey taking, and that's got to be poised with a focus as well too. And because what you're trying to create is an environment that is focused towards one thing, and that's performance, and creating a platform for them to go out and be in a focused place to go and play great golf.
Yeah.
That and blue and gold fish in a tank, Paul.
Well, that fits into the first bit, which is like Monty with the beds. That's about attention to detail and a little bit on the outside. It's not really that relevant, but it's a nice, cute thing.
But we're still talking about the yellow
So it must
and
have
blue
worked
fish.
then, didn't it?
So it becomes a detail that people remember from that Ryder Cup, and it goes through everything that we do.
It does. The
It's
captain has prepared,
Yeah,
yes,
the
yes.
details that Paul went into, that probably was the most detail that any captain I've gone into. But that was also the thing about Paul, and that's why he's considered a great captain.
Just before I bring out the starters, there is another really important job and probably a very uncomfortable job that you guys have to do, and that's make phone calls. You picked 4 players for your Ryder Cup side with your captain's picks. That delivered. They got 9.5 points for you. They were great choices. But at the same time, you had to call up Matt Wallace, who went out there in that last event in front of you, show me what you can do, and he won it in fine fashion as well. That must have been really hard. They must be awful conversations. What's it like?
There's no easy way to deliver this. There's no easy way to tell somebody that they haven't gotten the job. So, you pick up the phone and you go through the conversation, and you just literally let the player vent on whatever his thoughts are. And to be honest, for me, I had 2 difficult ones. I had Matt Wallace and I had Rafa Cabrera-Bello, and probably Matt was probably the easier one, and he was probably had more argument to be in the team than Rafa. But Rafa was a very difficult conversation, and it comes down to there's only 12 players that can be in the team, and for me, in all honesty, I go back to 2006. I never had that conversation with Woodsy before the picks was made, and I think that's where the mindset changed. I mean, my reaction to it was questionable, but when I got into the captaincy, I wanted to do it in a way where I had those conversations with all those players. And I also think when you put the phone down, you feel like, well, then they're on the side with you, even if they don't agree with you.
You had a tough one, Monty. You left out the word number 7.
I did. It was a bold decision. Paul and Thomas were vice captains, and I left out Paul Casey, world number 7. I left out Justin Rose, who'd won twice in America that year. I left out Sergio Garcia, who became the world, our record points. So he made it easy for me. He came to that Open at St Andrews, sat down in the locker room underneath the clubhouse there, and said, "Look, if I don't perform here, if I'm not in the top 5 in this Open, don't pick me. Wow. But I want to be part of your team. I want to be part of European success," which was a big statement for Sergio, who was coming good. I mean, he was right there, And so I made him a vice captain, and he was brilliant through the week. And it made him feel that, okay, this is the last time I'm doing this. I want to play, He played for both you guys, so that was great for him. But it was difficult. I had a difficult one. Robert Carlson was there as well, a number of guys. And Paul Casey was very, very unlucky. So I had Luke Donald as one of my picks, which was an obvious one, who happened to be my most scorer. So that worked out. Padraig Harrington, he was the number 2 pick. And the number 3 pick was difficult. Francesco Molinari had made the team, and he was quite introverted. He was quite shy. Who was his partner going to be? And I was worried about this, because he wasn't that character that he became. This was 2010. This was 8 years before he won the Open, so he was a rookie. And I thought, God, here we go. So we're at Glen Eagles, and hey presto, his brother wins the last event by birding the last 3 holes. And that was where Paul Casey missed out. Now, I wish Paul Casey had actually played at Glen Eagles. He'd won that event twice before at Glen Eagles. Why didn't he play? Why didn't Paul Casey try and get in the team? There's only one way of qualifying properly for the Ryder Cup team, and that's qualifying. If you want to be in the team, you qualify for the team. You can't rely on a captain and his vice captains making a choice that you might not feel is right. There's only 100% way of making a team, is qualifying for the damn thing. And why didn't he qualify?
It was quite good fun to be in that room, watching him stomp around the table.
I think it was a naive remark when he said, you know, the Ryder Cup's an exhibition compared to the majors.
Okay, guys, so we're going to talk perspective, but we're going to do it whilst we're eating, because I can see you look really hungry.
Well, I'm permanently hungry.
Yeah,
actually.
it is a leek
here we go. Oh, lovely.
and potato velouté. It's a bit of Welsh fare in honour of your victory at the Celtic Manor.
Thank you very much.
So, Colin, this one is all about you. As we move on to talking a bit about perspective. Now, this is delightful, and we're all going to get started, but I'm going to start on a bit of a downer, I got to be honest.
Go on.
All three of you are winners, but losers of the opening session. And that must have provided the opportunity for doubt, maybe. And so, Thomas, give us an idea about how hard it is to resist a knee-jerk reaction when the plan that you've got in place, all this preparation to get here, and the first few steps out of the blocks, you stumble.
Do you mind if I stumble into the soup?
You stumble in there. I think I learned a lot from 2016. I made a conscious choice quite early to say I wanted the team to know what they were doing all of Friday. So I told them on Wednesday evening what the pairings were in Friday morning and Friday afternoon. And when you go behind, it would have been easy to panic and do something different. But I felt like, no, you know what, I told them all what we're doing all of Friday, and I'm going to stick with it. And I think that goes back to what we talked about before. Your preparation was in place to actually deal with the first day. But you don't want to go down. You know, we always talk about fast start. We want a fast start. But the players were happy with it. You know, they knew what they were doing. And I think they, in the modern world of sport, players need to know what they're doing. Anytime you put doubt in their world, they don't perform as well.
Yeah, I was similar. I was the same. I want to play everybody, all 12 players the first day. I had a plan. I remember playing golf with Michael Vaughan, who was the England cricket captain, and he said, plan, have a plan. And it sounds simple and you think everybody's got a plan, but you know, when you set out your stall, you sit with it, and certainly that's what I done. So I was the same as Thomas. I had that view, I'm sure. I know, Monty, where were you at? I mean, you had so many rain delays and everything. Yours was so complex, it was unbelievable.
All my plans were thrown out the window, you know, which was actually a benefit to me, probably, because the plans were, you know, were obviously not very good at the start. But what happened with us was, of course, we were 6-4 down, and of course, they wanted to finish on Sunday. So they decided, right, the only way to do this was to get everybody to play at the one time. And I could have said no.
I remember being a vice captain and advising you to say no to it.
You did?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was with Paul.
Yeah.
Monty's advice from his vice captains was, this is not right. We're not strong enough 1 to 12 against America.
We're not strong enough.
So why did you?
You had a gut, didn't you?
I had a gut feeling, and I had to fight against you guys. Darren was the same, and so was Sergio. They went, no, we don't want this. We don't want this. They are better than us. And I said, look, I've got a gut feeling here. I said, come on, lads. You are better than they are as a 12. And I'm sure they left that room thinking, Christ, well, if he thinks we are, we probably are. We'll go and prove it.
That's courageous, Money.
And what happened? 5.5 points out of 6 we got. And that won it. That won it.
The thing that made it so unique was the fact that you went against what everybody was telling you what to do, what the logical thing to do.
We got lucky. Now, there's never a tournament I've ever been in that I've raised a trophy individually or as a Ryder Cup and said, hey, I was unlucky there.
Yeah.
Never. You never say that. There's always a piece of fortune that goes your way or it goes against your opponent, you know?
You can't panic over losing a session. I think you and I had this conversation. Always remember, you're going to lose a session out of 4 because it would be extremely arrogant to believe that you're going to win every session against the opponent you're playing against. When you lose a session, you have to have a plan to react to losing a session. We've always been extremely strong in 4 balls, historically. But when I look at 2018, we were going to be much, much better as a foursomes team. We took the 8 strong players and put them in pairings that were really, really strong for those foursomes. That was the plan, to identify your strengths and then really play hard on your strengths.
Did you stick to your guns when you were down?
I had a plan. I wanted to play everybody the first day, but like Thomas, I had a good plan for the foursomes. I knew I had an edge in the foursomes. You know, we were using a data team for the first time ever, and looking over the previous 10 years of the Johnny Walker, there was a big correlation between how you played the par 5s, it was a big long wet golf course, how you played the par 5s, and big hitting. So my foursome partnerships were a big hitter, shorter hitter, because 3 of the 4 par 5s were even numbers and a drivable par 4 even number. So I had the bigger hitters and even number. And I knew that was an edge, and I knew the Americans hadn't gone into that detail.
Really? It's amazing that they wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, because I was the first guy to use analytics. Subsequently, it's become a massive part of it. Thomas, you were very successful with it. It's a huge part of it now. So that was important, and you know, it kind of rectified, steadied the ship after that. And then you think, okay, yeah, my plan maybe is not so bad after all, because you do get rocked. You know?
God, you get rocked.
What's really important as well as a captain, I'm sure you guys are obviously all on it too, is body language. And even though you've lost the first session, you're not showing weakness. You know, yeah, okay, that's the way it is. You know, we expected to lose some sessions. It's a bit of a slower start than we wanted, but there's no problem. You know, there's no panic here. You know, it's really important, any interviews around the players as well too, and around the caddies, that you're not showing, oh my God, this is going all wrong.
That's interesting. So managing the narrative is a big part of what you have to do as a captain, because it's how the world's perceiving what's going on. You had to do that at Celtic Manor. Rory's first Ryder Cup, said a couple of things coming in which maybe didn't put him in the right light that you wanted it to be.
Yeah, it was a shame. I think it was a naive remark when he said, you know, the Ryder Cup's an exhibition compared to the majors, and it was just a very young, naive remark. Now he knows. I mean, look at the emotion he showed at Whistling Straits. That is, wow, that's Seve passion.
But you got the wigs out for the team to sort of shift the focus and make a light moment of it. Clever.
Yeah. Well, the caddies are a huge part of this, and they realised that Rory was getting a bit of stick for the comments that were made, and his hair was much bigger then. So they found 5 or 6 wigs, and they all came out with them to support Rory in what we're doing. We support you. Come on, we're a team here, you know. And that was fantastic. A bonding. You talk about bonding together. Superb.
We're talking about the outside looking in, but what about the inside looking out? 1991, War on the Shore, heartbreak for Langer. And I suppose I want to know what the perspective is as a player when you're in a room like that with some of those icons of the game, and you watch a guy broken like that.
That was one of the most powerful moments I've ever witnessed personally. Is that when Langer missed that putt, the famous putt at Kieran, and a 7-footer, 8-footer, however long it was, and we'd lost by that famous half a point. I'll never forget, I was sitting in the back, I was very much a rookie, and I was looking around the room and witnessing everybody's character and everybody what they were doing. And Seve come up to Langer, and they were crying their eyes out, the two of them hugging each other. And I thought, my God, there's passion, there's emotion, there's fire, there's, come on, let's get this the next time sort of thing, you know? And to see what it meant to them, what it meant to Seve, what it meant to Langer. And it was just a moment I'll never, ever forget. And I'll treasure that moment because Seve's not with us anymore. And I'll treasure that moment.
There's another story about Seve. When they lost, you know, when Europe was part of it for the first time and we just got pipped. And everybody was like that in tears in the locker room and so upset that we had just got pipped. And Seve had come in and, why everybody so sad? This is exciting. You should be very excited. We got so close. We got so close. Next time we win. You know, this is a victory for us to be so close. This is somewhere where we move from. So, you know, he was, you know, it's not underestimated when we say the role that he did play. He was very much the spirit of it, and he kind of dragged everybody's belief forward. And he had his chip on his shoulder. There's no doubt he had a chip on his shoulder. And that's a positive thing. A chip on the shoulder is not a negative thing, it's a positive thing, and we used it very, very constructively. And Seve personified that more than anybody.
There's no doubt that he saw the potential of it early, what the Ryder Cup could become and what it could do for the tour, what it could do for European golf. He saw that potential.
Did you feel you represented the tour?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yes. I never played the Ryder Cup for myself, ever. I was home putts for you, and you were home putts for him.
I remember playing my first Ryder Cup in '97. You know, 4 or 5 weeks leading into it, it was all members of the tour that came up to you. They were with you, they were excited for you, they were pushing you, they wanted you to do well. There was such a passion about it.
That's what I mentioned, the chip on the shoulder, and that's why it's really, really important that we don't lose that. And, you know, we harness it, you know. We're the little guys over here compared to the might and the wealth of America.
Very important.
That's always been our edge. That's going to go viral now, you know that. You just become a meme. You know what they call it?
Gents, time for the main course. And it's going to be in honour of Mr. McGinley, Victor in Scotland. So we've got something beautiful and Scottish for you. Some Scottish salmon. It took me a while to get the cook on it just how I wanted. Got some crispy pancetta. There's a tomato confit. And the asparagus I picked from my garden a little earlier today as well.
You've gone to an awful lot of trouble
yeah.
here, Nick. Well done.
I didn't plate it, but still, it's a beautiful thing. It'll be possibly the nicest thing you've eaten in a while, Colin, and that's what we're going to talk about, possibilities. That's where we're going with this. Jumping straight in, did you ever think about what it would be like if you lost?
Yeah, I do remember, you know, especially talking to Paul about having to write a losing speech, and it's nice you didn't have to use it, though.
Yeah.
The thing about it is it's all in the planning, because if you were to lose the Ryder Cup, your head is all over the place, and you got to think about, what am I going to say? You're going to forget something. You're
going to say something.
The whole idea is to be prepared and do something in the cold light of day, well in advance, put it in an envelope and put it somewhere in your luggage so it's there. So in the moment of need, if it's there, you go and get it. If not, you put it in the fire and you burn it.
I wrote one as well. If the result does go against you, you're in no position at all in that half an hour to make up what you're supposed to say in front of a few million people. No chance. You've got to be prepared. And that's part of the preparation, I'm afraid. And thank God the three of us sitting here, we never had to use it.
I suppose on the back of that, obviously you guys are great success. Would you want to do it again? Would you want to be the captain again?
Oh, there's doubt, because there's no doubt with me. No, actually.
No.
No.
I don't know, like, I don't know.
Would you like to do it again?
I don't think you'd ever really understand that until they ask you, and then you would have to think hard about it. I think you'd jeopardize a lot if you're winning captain by doing it again. But I also think when I look back at, you know, Tony Jacklin's and Bernard Gallagher's stories with the Ryder Cup, I think there's a lot of great to take from those stories and how they created the modern Ryder Cup.
Wouldn't you be a better captain if you had another go?
I'd have done it again.
You would have. Why?
I loved it. And I loved to do it on away captaincy. But what stopped me very clearly was the fact there's so many guys waiting behind me. I felt it would have been greedy to go again for a second time.
Totally agree, and I think it's very fair for you to do that, to allow others the opportunity, I suppose. If any of us lost, right, I want this again, I want to win this bloody thing, you know?
I want to touch on the possibilities open to you before a shot is struck. Is the golf course beforehand, the plans with the golf course? Because I think, Monty, you didn't do anything, did you, particularly with it?
I didn't.
But
Well,
obviously, it feels like Le Golf National was a really nice setup for us and one that we know.
I certainly feel like in the aftermath of Paris, it was very much talked about the golf course was this and that, and I'd done this and that to the golf course. That was the golf course we played 10, 12 French Opens on. It wasn't much different. There might have been a bit more rough here and there, but the fairway lines were the same. I actually didn't want to change too much to the golf course because I didn't want my players to come and feel that they found a different golf course than the one they were used to. They'd all played the French Open at some stage in their career on that golf course, and why would I want to set it up differently to what they're used to?
Do you think that was probably more about a lack of being prepared from a US side then, more than the golf course itself was set up well for Europeans?
The golf course plays into your way of thought as a captain, and you look at the results of your players on that golf course. Sergio's best result in 2018, which was a very controversial pick in a lot of people's eyes, was on that golf course. Sergio's driving of the golf ball, even at 80%, is one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the world. And driving is important on that golf course. So you turn the golf course into, what is it I want to do with my team? What kind of players do I need on this golf course? Well, I think sometimes when I look at an away captain, if you don't have the insight to the golf course and you don't do your studies into the statistics of the golf course and your players, you might get your picks wrong.
Absolutely. I mean, it's you can overcomplicate this, you know.
Yeah, you can.
You know, it's you do play a little bit of cat and mouse in the media, and we're going to bring the rough up, and we're thinking about that. I don't know about that, but really, what I was saying to the players behind the scenes and to David Garland was, whatever we do in the European Tour setup, week in, week out for the Johnny Walkers, you do exactly the same.
Well, you can trip yourself up if you're not careful.
Absolutely. And the other thing, I remember watching Steve Stricker's press conference in 2020, just before Whistler Straits, and he was going through his picks, and he said, I'm picking Scotty Scheffler because, and he used the term horses for courses.
Yes.
And I thought,
They worked it out.
Yeah.
you know, that's the first time I ever heard, because in 2018, they picked the next best three players that they perceived to be the best players, not the best three players that were going to be suited to the test and the exam that we had at Paris National. So you got to prepare for the exam. Every test in professional golf is determined by the exam of that golf course. And not every golf course challenges the exact same skill set.
That's why you have it for so long, the captaincy, to get into the detail of this and make the best team. And that is not always the 12 best players. Because the 12 best players in the world rankings or in any ranking might not be the 12 best players on that golf course.
No. And a lot of it comes down to each team has 4 rookies. And I'll never forget, you were a rookie in 2002, along with Nicholas Fast, Phil Price and Pierre Fulke. And you tell me, how many of you lost a singles match?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
That's why we won the 2002 Ryder Cup, was because of the rookies and the singles. And that's most important for a captain to deal with that situation. And if I was to do this again, which I've said I don't want to, I would actually encourage in practice to let a rookie go out on his own, just have a round of golf as a single. Because isn't it amazing where, as a rookie, the practice rounds, 3 or 4 practice rounds you're with 3 other guys as a 4-ball. And then, of course, Friday, Saturday, you're with your partner, whoever it might be. And then suddenly, Sunday, wow, hang on. Christ, I'm on my own here. Damn it.
It's a lonely place.
It's a lonely, lonely place. Oh.
I played 9, I think, in that one in the Belfry. And
Did you?
I remember going out
Yeah.
from the excitement of playing with Darren in the last game, the night before in the 4 balls, where there was 50,000 people watching our game. We were the last game on the golf course playing the 18th hole.
Yeah.
And the high of that and the excitement of that, to the following day, I'm playing Jim Furyk. You're playing number 1, and I get in the golf course, and I remember standing waiting for Jim to pitch onto the par 5 3rd hole, and I counted there was 21 people around the green. I actually counted. And remember the team meetings in the Belfry. I was only talking to Sam about this the other day. We actually had them in Sam's bedroom.
We did.
So we had a penthouse.
We did.
And I remember us like lying on his bed, some on the floor, some on the sofa in the bedroom part of it. And next door, his wife Susanna's blow drying her hair. And here we are having our meetings. Compare that to where we are now. But I remember Jesper Parnevik saying, just be ready for the singles. As much as the excitement of everything's building for the first 6 days, and everybody's together, and there's only 4 matches, and there's 50,000 people following 4 games, and TV everywhere, and all that kind of stuff. But then when you go into the singles, it just goes quiet. So make sure to hold your nerve. And when I stood on that 3rd fairway and counting 21 people, I had this feeling of loneliness, and it's like, Jesus, this is all going on around me, but I'm not part of it. And then I thought of what Parnevik said, and I thought, okay, I got to focus. I got to stay in the game.
It is a very, very difficult place to be, and it often falls upon the less experienced guys as well.
But that's where the captain is important, to prepare the players for that.
Totally. I wasn't prepared my first Ryder Cup. I'm out there. Okay, I got number 3 against Mark Calcavecchia at Kiowa Island, 91. Number 3 was a great position, because you're not going to win the Ryder Cup. But the more important thing is, you're not going to lose it from number 3, right? And that was, thank God I'm number 3, you know.
Monty Thomas and I never played number 1. That's also a difficult place. You know, the building up the excitement, the tee time's normally around 11:30 in the morning. So everybody's up, the adrenaline is flying, the match is tight, and you're drawn at number 1, and you're the guy to ignite the fire. That's also a very, 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 very difficult place.
I wasn't prepared. Sam threw me out at number 1.
You played 1 in 02, yeah.
And the draw comes out. It's funny, the draw comes out at night, you know. And
the scores were level, right?
And the scores were level. So we all had a job to do. And he said it was my job to get blue on the board early, right? Well, thanks, Sam. But the draw comes out beforehand, and there's 2 envelopes and the 12 names of us and 12 names of America, and I couldn't see my name. Because my name's got 11 letters, so of course it stands out a bit on the sheet. And I'm going, my God, he's dropped me. Where the hell am I? And he'd put Monty at the top, and he winked at me across the room. But it was a very nervy situation, first off, because the gates opened, as you rightly say, 8:15. My tee-off time is 11:15, so it's 3 hours of the stands getting packed, everyone in anticipation of an 8-all Ryder Cup. And it was up to you to get that momentum for Europe going, and it's a difficult task. So I stood up and I thought, God, and I was really as nervous as I've ever been. And here's me thinking, God, hang on a minute. So, you know, light hands, Monty on the grip, and I'm doing my 37 times table, which I always do on the first tee.
The what? What? Come on, I want it what?
Sorry, my 37 times table. Oh, sorry. I do it trying to visualise something, right? Get away from the situation where I'm in. So I do my 37 times table. So I go 37, 74, 111, and I keep going.
What?
And I keep going. So I was doing my 37 times 2. Well, yeah, I've always done it since. Yeah. But when I've got under real pressure, you know, when I want to get myself away from where I am. Yeah.
So you do that before you walk into the shot.
As I'm teeing it up, I'm doing it. As I'm walking back to the tee and then striking the ball. I'm in the
Even
middle
striking the ball?
I'm in the middle of it.
Kidding me.
Yeah.
Even swinging.
I'm sort of talking to myself. I
You know
it's
that's
not
going to
right.
be a thing.
You're just
It's
on
not, is
automatic.
it?
It's going to be no. It's going to be a thing, Monty. It's going to be a thing.
But under that extreme pressure, that's what I do. Yeah.
That's going to go viral now, you know that. You just become a meme. You know what they call it?
Do you want to see how far you can get through my ice get our dessert?
How do you manage Ronaldo, David Beckham, Paul Scholes, you know, the big stars?
It was silent. You're a pin drop. Yeah. Brilliant. This English coffee?
No, it's Italian.
It's Italian. Oh, very
See where
good.
I'm going here?
Very good. You are.
See where I'm going here. Okay, gents. Here is our French theme dessert for you, Thomas. Creme brulee. It's your favourite, isn't it?
Looks good, that.
Tuck in, by the way. Don't wait for Thomas to get us started, even though it is in honour of him. Talk to me about the team room. What's it like? How far does that go? What happens in that room towards winning the Ryder Cup?
You know, the captain sets an environment for the team, for them to perform, but it also comes a lot from the players. I remember Ola Sabel in Valderrama. You know, it was all kicking off in the locker room, you know, and it just went too much. And all of a sudden he just stood up and shouted at everyone, "We've not won this yet." And there was just that kind of a person that understands and said, "Hang on a second, we're playing for 12 points tomorrow and this can go terribly wrong. You don't want to lose it from here." Where also, if it's not going well, a Poulter, you know, in Medina, you know, he did it on the golf course, but he brings it into the team room where everybody plays a role, and that's how you create a great team. Paul and I have often talked about captaining from the bottom of our team up to number one, where some captains go from the top down. But we believe very strongly that if we could pick it up from the bottom, you know, then we'd raise the whole team. The top players take care of themselves.
What about the add-ons though, like the inspirations that you can add? For instance, you used Sir Alex Ferguson within your side, Paul. Like, give me an idea about like, how you added that, something that's outside our sport but could add so much to what that 12 could bring.
My idea was that I used sounding boards a lot. There was a lot of things that I didn't have answers for. And I sat down and I was really tough on myself. Where am I strong? Where am I weak? And my experiences led me to a lot of what I did. But I was never a top player in the team, that certainly particularly Monty was, and Thomas as well too. You know, I was down the end of the team. I was a guy that got a chance to put the cherry on top because he did all the donkey work up the top and gave him an opportunity. So, you know, the conversations with Alex Ferguson were around those lines. You know, I got Rory McIlroy in the team who's won 2 majors this year. Rory McIlroy, who's the next Tiger Woods and the big star. How do you manage Ronaldo, David Beckham, Paul Scholes, you know, the big stars going into a Champions League final or a big game? What do you do? He said, you know what, that's a great question. This is what he would say. He'd say, that's a great question. But before I answer, tell me what your instinct is. And I said, well, you know, my instinct is that I kind of play him down a bit and, you know, I don't want to highlight him. You know, I don't want to put pressure on him, an expectation. And he said, I love that. That's exactly right. That's exactly the answer. That's exactly what answer I was going to give you. And then he would give me an example of Beckham or Ronaldo. So what he was doing was 2 things. A, he was giving me the answer. But B, more importantly, he was playing me. He was giving me confidence. Because now I got Alex Ferguson endorsing what my view is.
That's clever.
And it was very, very clever. And then I asked him then would he come into the team room on the Tuesday and speak. But I asked him would he go and speak to the caddies as well. So I remember us up in the team room and this massive screaming and shouting went on. We could hear it like down the corridor, and that was Alex Ferguson walking in. And anyway, good long story. He loved it. He loved the banter and had a bit of crack. But he also gave some great insights to them. And I remember he wrote a note to me afterwards at the ends, and he said, Paul, I had so much fun. One of the greatest experiences I've ever had at any sporting event. It's just been fantastic. Thank you for having me back in the boiler room. That's what he called it.
I got to say, from, you know, having that and kind of, you know, not loving the idea of Alex Ferguson in our team room, it was probably the most inspiring half an hour I've had with somebody else in sports. You know, like that the way he talked about these players and about how he worked with them. It was truly inspiring to listen to. I walked away from that experience in awe of the man. And I would say I've always been in awe of the man, but I probably not liked he was probably manager for the wrong team, but in awe of the man and what he did. It was a really inspiring moment.
Different sort of inspiration for you in terms of, obviously the timing was quite pivotal for what you did, Colin, but being able to speak and hear the voice of Sevi must have been powerful in that.
I had got in touch with Jose Maria and asked him if it was possible. We knew Sevi was very, very ill, and if it was possible to call Sevi and put him on a speakerphone, because he couldn't travel, obviously, to, well, give us a bit of a lift. And so Olazabal was great. He phoned him up and he was linked in and what have you, and we all sat around, never forget, we all sat around this speakerphone on the table, and it was his voice, and although he was very ill, you could hear the passion, couldn't you? The three of us were there. You could hear the passion of his voice coming through about the Ryder Cup. You know, this is the Ryder Cup. I can't do an accent, I wish I could. This is the Ryder Cup, the Ryder Cup, the Ryder Cup, you know. And he said this all the time, and it was amazing, you know. And it was silent. You could hear a pin drop. You know? Brilliant, brilliant. And I remember Miguel Angel Jimenez. There was Garcia in the room. There was Olazabal in the room, crying their eyes out, you know, at this, because they knew how ill he was.
Yeah.
We weren't actually quite aware of how ill he was, but it was a real. I mean, if I was a rookie sitting in that room, having Sevi Ballesteros talking passionately about the Ryder Cup, I'd have left there. I can drive the first green, you know?
Well, the happiness as well must come in creating the right environment for the partnership. So let's move on to that. How do you decide who goes with who as we little coffee to finish?
Is this English coffee?
No, it's Italian.
It's Italian. Oh, very
See where
good.
I'm going here?
Very good. You
See
are.
where I'm going here. How do you decide who plays with who?
In the end, the players have to be comfortable with each other as well, and what they want to do has to play into your world. I mean, the Molinari, Fleetwood came a little bit out of left field. Put them right in front of Monty.
No, please.
All of it.
No, that's just yours.
No, please. This is fine. Thank you very much.
So that came
what a
out.
dream partnership.
Yeah, but it came out of a little bit them wanting to do it, you know, very close. But people that are very tight, you know, they tend to do very well. And that's the one thing when I look back at Clark and Westwood. They were so tight. They were so good together. There was never any blame. You know, they made each other better. You know, they were capable of making each other excellent on the golf course all the time, and they wanted to do it together. And that's probably, you know, what you experienced with Sevi and Ollie, you know, that they had that ability. And when you talk to Olazabal and also Sevi in his day about the matches they play, you know, Ollie will tell you every time he meets Davis Love, Davis still can't believe that him and Fred Couples lost to them at the Belfry. You know, they hit it in every direction. Those two Americans straight down the middle, and then they met at the green, and they somehow ended up beating these two. And it's just one of those amazing things.
It's also the energy of the crowd, seeing the energy in the team. Yeah,
We have this tremendous home record, and we're so proud of this home record, and it's now 30 years since we lost at home in 1993. And a lot of it's to do with a home crowd and the vibe that's given from the players back to the crowd and the crowd back to the players.
I remember I played with Darren in the Belfry, and he kept saying to me, look at them, keep looking at them, look up at them grandstands all the time. Don't ever look it down into the ground. Look at them, because when you look at them, they'll come with you.
Well, let's lift your eyes up to the horizon when it comes to picking your legend 12 players to represent Europe, because this should be a team to be proud of. You each filled out your team, and there are some correlations that mean we've got automatic qualifiers. We've got 8 royalty, golfing royalty. It's fair to say.
Royalty.
So we've
Monty.
agreed on 8 out of 12, have we? We've all put
You have,
the
which
same
means you're
names
going to
down.
have to make 4 captains' picks. You're actually, when you filled out these sheets, you're the only one who didn't put yourself in. So you are too humble, Monty. But
Well, I
you're
wouldn't-
You're in the
well, I
legend.
couldn't do that.
You're playing, okay? So you're going to be putting on the.
Give you a game, Monty.
4 picks, guys, but you've got 4 names, and I think we'd quite like to sit back and just watch how you decide.
I think
between
the
how
next
you
guy
get
in for me has to be Luke. I mean,
Yes, it
of
does.
all the modern
does.
players, you
Luke
know,
Donald.
even Westy, you put Pulse, you put even Monty, you put Langer, Sergio, wherever you want to go. The win ratios are all 60. Anybody with a 50% win ratio in the Ryder Cup's had a really good Ryder Cup career. But when you get up into the 60s, and if anybody that touches the 70s, certainly who's played 3 or 4 Ryder Cups, that's sensational. And of all of those modern guys that have played several Ryder Cups around that time, Luke is the best ratio at 70%.
I picked Luke Donald.
Absolutely.
On my team because he could play with anybody, very popular, And I think he's your... Yeah.
His game was easy to mould.
Yes.
I'm gonna go
yes.
Woozy.
Yes.
Okay, so there's 2 votes for Woozy. I assume one was yours.
Yeah.
I had Woozy.
I don't think I did have Woozy. No.
I have Woozy, and when we talk about
nothing.
team, you know, talk about making a team better.
But you're thinking about partnerships as well, right?
Yeah, but also making a team better. I mean, he was my first partner at Valderrama, and he was a fantastic partner. He was excellent. The way he looked after me during the week, knowing he was going to play with me. Playing with him was amazing. When he looked at me at the first tee, he says, "Don't worry about these first 6 holes. I'll take care of them. You just get into it." And I think it was 4 under after 6 at Valderrama. It was the easiest ride in the world. But also talking about making a team better off the golf course. I mean, he is an excellent person.
Good.
Can we work with that?
And we can definitely work with that.
Are we happy with Woozy?
World number 1, Masters champion. Woozy goes in.
Woozy's in. We love that. And also, you won the Ryder Cup at the Celtic Manor, so it's only right, Colin.
It is. Come on now. We need
right.
the Welshman in there. Come on. Now.
2 more spots, guys.
Well, Graham McDowell, I wouldn't be sitting here as a winning captain without Graham McDowell. I know it's not an individual game, don't get me wrong, but it comes down at the end of the day to an individual to win for the team at that very end game. And he was brilliant.
I'm a big GMAC fan. I just think he's got a heart of a lion.
Yes, he has.
I love
He has.
guys with heart. And,
Yeah.
you know, I remember we kind of phrased Monty number 12 for a reason.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Then there'd only be one left. Who would you feel strongly for having that one?
The one person that has never, ever failed in making a partnership good is Darren Clark.
This
Very
is the
well-
hard part of the conversation.
Very well said, actually.
And
You
he's a
can't
very good
argue with
singles
that.
record too.
And he's got a good singles record. I think we go with a couple of Irishmen at the end there, don't we?
But who's the one who's going to be the closest you having to make the phone call to then? Who's the near miss there?
For me, Rose and Stenson were huge for me, and you know, I have a lot of
They were.
loyalty towards them too. You know,
But I said that after Paris. I said Henrik was my hero of the Ryder Cup. He did everything I asked of him. He only played 3 matches. He won all 3. Darren sits highly for me because I've seen him do so many good things. I understand the arguments for Graham McDowell.
Are we committing to that then?
Looks that way. Trouble is, I've actually phoned Stenson and Rose before.
And you just don't want to do it
and I
again.
don't want to do it again.
GMAC and
I
Clark.
don't want to do it again.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue with it, you know. But you know, this is a difficult part now. This is giving a glimpse of what it's like when you come down to the last 2 spots. There's always, you know, if you've got 3 picks, there's always 2 that are pretty straightforward. Everybody agrees on.
Yeah.
It comes down to the last one, and that's what makes it really, really difficult.
And it's very difficult to decide that you think, because as a player, we have an ego and we think we're okay. And it's very difficult for you to make that decision that you think this guy is better than this guy. And you think he's better than you. You
Yeah.
You know,
Fill in the blank,
it's, whew.
So,
Right.
are you happy with GMAC and Clark? And Paul's calling
I'm
up
happy.
Justin and Henrik, yeah?
Paul's calling Justin
Yeah.
and Henrik because I've done that already. It's not good.
Going,
you know.
going, going.
It's not good.
guys.
It's going to be a two tough calls for me. Yeah. I mean, Thomas makes a great argument on Darren's behalf, and it's hard to argue against that. This is why he's a very persuasive vice captain. You got to keep an eye on
Clark's
him.
down,
that.
so you've got that last spot, and I'm writing GMAC unless you tell me any different.
You're writing GMAC down there.
Captain, guys? Who'd be a legend captain?
I mean, I've gone with a personal choice and somebody I played under. I've gone with Torrance. I thought he was amazing. He was amazing for me, my favourite captain. That's not taken away from any of the others that I've worked with or played under, but he was an amazing captain, Sam.
Torrance?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to go against Sam because of the same reasons. I mean, phenomenal captain. A lot of us were off form. Generally, as a captain, you got a team that's in form and had a good season, and you go into a Ryder Cup. And with that 12-month wait, a lot of us, me included, had gone downhill, and we weren't feeling good.
Torrance was brilliant, and I loved him, and do love him. I think he's a great guy, and he was a fantastic captain to all of us, all 3 of us here. But to put the Ryder Cup where it is today, Tony Jacklin did that. Tony Jacklin put the Ryder Cup where it is today.
Sam would be a great vice captain.
That's why I put them both down, Thomas. I'm thinking, okay, I feel like Tony's getting the captaincy, but I feel like Sam's definitely
No,
first VC.
absolutely no problem with that.
Okay, guys. So here we have it. Your legend 12 would be under the captaincy of Tony Jacklin, and certainly one of the vice captains, head vice captain perhaps we'll call, Sam Torrance. Seve, Faldo, Sergio Garcia, Langer, Olatharbel, Monty, Poulter, Westy, Donald, Woozy, Clark and Gima.
Good luck leaving 4 out the first morning.
Yeah.